Hello, everyone. So we have our presentation on project management, the 64-hour mindset, leading, building, and pitching under pressure. So we're going to start off with a little background on medtech, edtech, and ecotech before transitioning into project management, and then finishing off on these that are really relevant right now. The first being micropharma, which partnered with Starfish Medical. Learners in real time. And lastly, we have ecotech. So ecotech is a sector that combines technology and sustainability. It reduces environmental impact, it optimizes resource use, and promotes circular economies. The core areas are clean energy, waste management, sustainable mobility, climate data, and AI. So for ecotech, we have AltaML, which Rachel actually is a current intern at. AltaML utilized AI and computer vision for pest control by analyzing high-resolution satellite imagery and applying single-class object detection to predict and pinpoint the locations of infected pine trees accurately. Next, we have Core Wireless, which provides an IoT-enabled waste container management solution that uses sensors and smart cards to monitor disposal volume and automate billing. And lastly, we have Google's Carbon Intelligent Computing Platform, which uses machine learning to shift the timing and location of non-urgent data center tasks to align with the availability of clean energy. Now for the fun part. We have leading and building with Rachel.
Thank you, Landon. Okay, my part is not going to be as fun as all the cool ecotech, medtech, edtech trends, but it's important for you to know. What's ironic is that when I was making this presentation, the wonderful Shreya kept having to extend the deadline for me because of my poor time management. So hopefully you can learn from me and not do the same. Yeah, that brings me to why project management is important. So the first thing is that project management really helps you organize your tasks, your people, and time to turn your ideas into something tangible. Right? You don't want to kind of hammer chaos and not really know what you're doing. You want to be able to plan. It keeps the teams aligned and focused on your priorities, especially when you just have that 64 hours to build your solution. Project management helps manage limited time and avoid last-minute chaos. And lastly, it improves communication and accountability. You're able to manage who's doing what and when. Now, before I move on, has anybody learned about project management, or does anybody have any ideas of certain project management methodologies? raise of hands. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, sure. Do you want to give us some insights? What kind of methodologies you know?
Yeah, probably recording everything, like, especially if you're working in a group.
Okay.
Have everything written down on paper.
Okay, absolutely. So just to reiterate, he said documentation. That is a very important piece that we are going to touch on as well. Okay, I will move to common project management methodologies. There are two main methodologies. After testing and release, you go back to development, back to building, back to testing. So that way you can kind of iterate on feedback, you implement certain bugs, fix certain bugs, see certain things that you want to change in your project. It's great for rapid development, especially for a hackathon like this one. Waterfall is a more traditional method. It's great for large-scale projects. So when you have the waterfall method, it's sequential. You have a linear step-by-step process. You start with planning, you plan out everything, you design your entire project, you develop your entire solution, and then you test and release. There's not much room for change with the waterfall method. You don't have a lot of room for error. It's kind of blocked out, very structured. So in your case, with this hackathon, Agile is the way to go. Okay. Now, looking at Agile in action, how this is implemented in the real world, one part of Agile, one way Agile can be implemented is through the Scrum framework. Who here has heard of Scrum? Okay, a couple. Does anyone want to share what they know about Scrum? Okay, then I will. So the Scrum framework in the real world, in short, is focused cycles of work. So if you can see this tiny little photo here on the side, you begin with a product backlog. So those are the tasks you have to do for building your solution. Now with the product backlog, you move into sprint planning. So that's kind of assigning tasks, figuring out what you're going to do in that sprint. Now in the usual product development space, sprints usually last about 2 weeks. Of course, you guys don't have weeks and weeks, so we're going to talk about how you kind of can take away from this with your hackathon. But after sprint planning, you kind of do a daily scrum. That's when you update each other with certain issues you are coming across, or just what you did today, what you are planning to do in the coming week. And then after that, you have one increment, which is a portion of your product that you're presenting to stakeholders or just within your team that you can gather feedback on and iterate on. And then we go all the way back to sprint planning again. So sprint 1 is done, you start sprint 2, it's the same thing all over again. Now, how can we do this in your project? One way is assigning those clear roles within a Scrum development team. You can put that in your group. So you could allot, for example, a product owner / Scrum Master. Now that person just kind of sets the goals, assigns the tasks if needed. They kind of can organize the backlog, make sure everybody's working well and removing any blockers that are there. You have your developers / designers who are the ones actually building, testing, implementing your solution. And lastly, a pitch lead. This is an important one that you could consider having on your team, someone who is just kind of crafting that final story and your final presentation when you present your solution. So, yeah, excuse me, that's it. So Scrum, you keep it flexible, you adapt fast, communicate often, and aim for a working feature. Any questions? Wow, like. Moving into tools for project management, just a couple for you guys. The first is Gantt charts. Who here has seen a Gantt chart before? Okay, I feel like every question I ask, it's like less and less people, so at least I'm useful here. So a Gantt chart is pretty much a visual timeline for you to map out the work that needs to be done. You're able to assign people to these tasks within a Gantt chart, so you can help track what needs to be done, who does it, and when. It makes it really easy to spot overlaps or delays, as well as determine dependencies. So for example, if I need to do this one task before someone else starts theirs, it's very important to map out so that you're not wasting any time. It's useful for breaking down big goals into smaller milestones, so it keeps you focused, and it's great for mapping your 64-hour schedule at a glance. Yeah, okay, where can you actually make a Gantt chart? These are some of them are free ways you can make your Gantt chart. So Notion is a personal favorite. Notion is free and it's very easy to use. You can just click and create your Gantt chart there. Asana is another big one, Monday.com I'm sure you heard of. MS Projects is very commonly seen in industry, but I wouldn't recommend it for you guys just because it's kind of hefty and you need a license, so it's not free. Yeah, any questions about Gantt charts? Okay, cool. Next tool you can use is Kanban boards. Who here has seen a Kanban board before? Okay, nice. So a board is also a visual tool for you just to kind of track progress and manage your tasks in real time. So you start with that product backlog, which is just a list of the things you have to do, and then you can just drag and drop into what you're doing, what's done, what kind of needs review, things like that. You can modify the columns however you want. This just kind of keeps everybody on the same page when you're doing your tasks, and it helps identify bottlenecks. If you want to flag something, you can, so that, I don't know, maybe someone else on your team can help you out. But where can you set up a Kanban board? You can do so on Notion. You can pretty much do this on any of the platforms I mentioned before, but here are some extra ones. So Notion, again, very easy to set it up. It's pretty much just a different view of your timeline of your Gantt chart. Azure DevOps, probably the most common in industry because it's part of MS 365 suite, but again, you need the license and it's not free, so I wouldn't recommend it here. Trello is another great free option. You just Google Trello. I think you need an account, so I don't know. It's quick though. You can try Trello. And it's kind of dark, but that says Jira. Jira is kind of hefty, but sometimes you can see it in industry, so I wouldn't recommend it here, but it's just good to know that it exists. Any questions? Okay, cool. Okay, moving on to tips and tricks. The first thing that you brought up is documentation. This is incredibly important, especially when you're working in a fast-paced environment. You really want to keep track of what's going on. Imagine one of your team members, I don't know, goes and takes a nap and then comes back and has no idea what's going on. Have them review that documentation instead of having another team member explain what has been going on, because that does waste time and effort. So documenting decisions, actions, results, all that. And of course, you can do that on the platforms that I mentioned before or just a running Google Doc. Next thing is time blocking. So again, this can be done with the Gantt chart. This is extremely important when you first start out. That 64 hours is when you build your solution, right? You don't want to go into that with chaos. You want to time block, plan out what you're going to do at hour 6, what are you going to do at hour 12, right? This here in the middle is just like an example breakdown of what you can do and when. You don't have to follow it. I just put that there so you can look at it, but with the time blocks, be sure to have those checkpoints. So again, those daily scrums or stand-ups that you do in your 64-hour hackathon, you can set mini checkpoints just to kind of emulate that, and it keeps your team communicating with each other. It keeps everybody on the same page. One maybe useful tip I have for you guys is who's leading or facilitating that stand-up. You can kind of switch it around every 6 to 8 hours, so everyone just kind of is not, I don't know, not paying attention. If anyone's not paying attention, you make them facilitate the stand-up and they have to know what's going on. But yeah. Next thing is health. How many of you have done a urgent project or a hackathon and forgotten to eat or forgotten to sleep? Raise your hand. Okay. Oh, less than I thought. Good job, guys. But anyways, make sure to assign your sleep, okay? You guys have to sleep. Just assign it in shifts or something, and then don't forget to eat as well. That'll help your brain moving. Okay, that is the end of the whole project management spiel. Any questions, comments, concerns? No, okay. Okay, the next part is my favorite part, pitching with purpose. So you guys will have to pitch your solution at the end. How to structure your pitch. So you want to make a great first impression, and you want to make an impression that lasts. So what you can do is start with the problem. Give some context to the judges. Why is your solution something that matters? What is the issue you're actually solving? Okay, and then demo your solution. A lot of these judges, they don't want to just sit there and hear you talk. I'm sure like some of you are bored of me talking. Show them your solution. Show them, I don't know, the cool things it does, and then walk them through the key technology you used, certain methods or tools you used to create that, and then, yeah, it'll interest them. Next thing is highlight the impact. So again, who does it benefit? What difference does your solution have compared to others? There are a lot of technology trends going on these days that I'm sure all of you are going to implement with your solution. So you want to be able to differentiate that with other teams, right? You want to stand out. And of course, show originality. What is new and creative? Or is this idea completely, I don't know, ChatGPT generated? You want to show why your solution is, I don't know, new and fun. Lastly, end strong. You want to be able to summarize the value. So if I asked, can you summarize your solution in one sentence, you should be able to do that. You want to know what your solution was, how it works, and why it matters. Okay, any questions there? Okay, great. Finally, just tips and tricks. This is kind of basic presentation etiquette that I feel like can be overlooked sometimes. So just some tips for you guys. First of all, introduce yourself, okay? The judges want to know who you are. It kind of assigns a personality to you. You're not just some figure presenting here. I know we like robots, but you're not a robot. Introduce yourself. Next is greet the judges. Like, shake their hands when you walk up. Introduce yourself, okay? Next is do not read off a script. I feel like I see this a bit too often. People are reading off a script on their phone. I don't know if anybody watches America's Got Talent, but I watched this one episode once, and the girl went on stage for a singing audition, and she had the lyrics open on her phone, and she was singing along to the lyrics. Okay, so that gives the same vibe as reading off a script. The judges think you are unprepared, you don't know your solution. So just trust yourself. You spent 64 hours building the solution. You know what it does, and you know the impact it has. So just trust yourself, trust that you can present it properly, and do not read off a script. Next thing is rehearse your transition. So who's talking when? This just cleans up your presentation, make sure it's smooth, running smoothly. And lastly, keep it engaging. Again, show your demo early. That's what the judges are really there for. They want to see what you made, so show it early. And lastly, know your audience. You can, I don't know, I bet you can Google like previous rubrics, just know what the judges are looking for, and that'll really help shape your final presentation. And that is it on tips and tricks. Any questions? Or any tips you guys have for each other? Okay, quiet. Okay, this is the last thing not related to project management or anything. This is a personal plug. Again, we are from the Business Technology Management Club here at the U of A. What we do is host case competitions. So upcoming, we have a energy case competition in partnership with Enbridge. This is taking place on November 29th at, does it say a location? No, it's at ECA, hopefully, if we book it in time, from 9 to 5, and registration opens on November 7th. If you are interested in this competition, please scan this QR code. This will take you to our Instagram, and you can keep up to date with any updates, when registration opens, things like that on there. And you can also see the judges that are coming. We have some pretty cool judges that are industry representatives from Enbridge, who are great networking tools, opportunities as well. Yeah, that is the end. Any questions about this that I can talk about? Yes, over there. No, registration opens on November 7th, actually. So this is a very early, I don't know, pitch to you guys. Any other questions? Yes. Okay, so a case competition is pretty much you're presented a business case. This can sometimes be hypothetical or it can be relevant to an actual company. So in this case, the sponsor is Enbridge, so you can assume that it's something related to them or at least to the energy industry. You're presented that business case and you want to create a recommendation or a solution to it. And then you pretty much just present it. So it's very similar to a hackathon without the technical pieces. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. Any other questions? Yes. No, you don't. So to register, you can be in any faculty, undergraduate, or MBA. Unfortunately, not PhD, because that provides a little bit too much of an advantage. You can register as an individual or as a team. So we do teams 3 to 4 people. If you register as an individual, we will probably pair you with someone. One thing about that that's, I don't know, could be beneficial is if you, for example, are registering and you're from CS or engineering, we could pair you with business students, and so you have that variety of aspect in your teams. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm happy you guys are interested in this. Okay, cool. Yes. Do you have a question? No? Okay, just waving. Okay. Okay, that is the end. Q&A, I don't know if we have time. Do we have time? Yeah? All right, any questions I can answer? Okay, I guess we don't need that time. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having us.